Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. But before we dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button, smash the like if you enjoy the content, and ring that notification bell so you never miss a juicy story. Neighbor destroyed our century-old oak tree. Our next-door neighbor is building a swimming pool and has asked multiple times if she could cut down a tree on our property. Every time we unequivocally told her no. 2 days ago, while she was having other trees in her yard cut down, I left the house for an hour to take my dogs to the park. When I returned, I found her tree service had cut down our tree. It was a 100 to 150-year-old oak tree that was the focal point of our backyard and provided shade for our backyard and deck. The tree service workers claimed they were given instructions and paid to cut down the tree by our neighbor, who had told them we had given permission. When I asked for their names or contact information for our homeowner's insurance, they refused to provide it. I believe they are acquainted with our neighbor in some way. Our neighbor claimed the tree service was confused and did it by mistake, but I believe both are lying. If the tree service believed we had given permission, they wouldn't have moved their machinery into our driveway and started cutting the tree down as soon as we left. To make matters worse, when the tree service refused to give us their information, I called the police to file a report. The officer who came wouldn't listen to our story, said he couldn't do anything, was very confrontational, and wrote an inaccurate report. I believe they trespassed and committed an act of willful property damage and/or vandalism, but our town's police are unwilling to pursue the situation. We're undoubtedly going to file a civil suit. This slimy, spoiled liar will go through hell for what she's done, and I have the time and money to make sure of it. We took photographs of the cut tree and the remaining stump, the machinery tracks in our driveway, and saved all communication with our neighbor. We also reached out to an arborist to get an estimate of the tree's value, which turned out to be significant given its age and size. With this solid evidence, we filed a civil suit seeking compensation for the loss of the tree, damages for trespassing, and punitive damages for the willful destruction of our property. The court process was lengthy, but it was worth it. The judge found in our favor, citing the clear evidence of trespassing and unauthorized destruction of our property. The neighbor was ordered to pay a substantial amount in damages, which included the value of the tree and additional compensation for the distress and inconvenience caused. Moreover, the tree service faced penalties for their involvement, and their reputation took a significant hit in the community. Our neighbor's attempt to avoid responsibility only made the judgment harsher, reinforcing the importance of respecting property boundaries and obtaining proper consent. She created problems on her own head. This could have been easily avoided and not wasted tons of time and money. And our second story. I want you to pick up the pizzas for my party, but also have you pay for them because you owe me for inviting you. So I had this friend in college. Let's call her Kay. Kay was overall nice to talk to, but the longer you knew her, the more of a scumbag you realized she was. Kay lived in the same dorm, and me and my friends, I remember this story like it was yesterday. She had her car, and her parents paid for everything, so she wasn't a struggling student in any way, shape, or form. One evening, I was out practicing for a skit I had to do in Japanese class with a few friends. However, when I was done, I was going to go to Kay's birthday party she was throwing in the dorm. Partway through our practice, she calls me. Me. Hello? Kay. Hey, I was wondering if you would mind picking up the pizzas for my party? I'm getting things ready here. Me. Sure, I don't mind. I just have to finish up practicing for this class thing. Kay. Oh, well, I actually really would like it if you would go right now. Me. I can head out in the next 10 minutes, but I can't right this second. Are you in the dorm? I'll run by and pick up the money for the pizzas. Okay, actually, like I said, I need you to get them now. And besides, that's my money. I need it for me. Me. Well, how am I supposed to pay for the pizzas? Did you prepay or something? Okay, no, I need you to pay for them because this is my money and I invited you to my party, so it's not like you don't owe me for inviting you. Just go grab them. Me. Sorry, I'm not going to pay for the pizzas for your party, especially when I don't even really eat pizza myself. Kay. But you owe me. Me. I really don't. Sorry, Kay, you'll have to figure out something else. At this point, I hang up and tell my two friends about this whole situation. We all puzzle over this for a few minutes, then go back to our practice. When we finished up about 15 minutes later, I looked at my phone and had about 10 messages from Kay telling me I was selfish and now she has to drive to pick up the pizzas for her party, which means she has to use her gas and the party was ruined, etc. How I was a horrible friend and not to come by to her party. I can't help wondering how these people think that their presence and friendship is so valuable that people will put up with this kind of behavior. And our last story. Trying to steal my inheritance. Little backstory. My aunt has always had a greedy streak ever since I was a kid. She's the type of person that will yell at a store employee because something that was advertised isn't in stock and not at that particular store or not on sale and has been banned from entering multiple stores. When my grandmother was on her deathbed, my aunt had talked her into getting my grandfather to sign her on as an executor of her will and ended up taking everything and anything that had the most value. Fast forward. My uncle was my best friend. Always looked up to him as a kid. He was a truck driver, so he'd be gone for a long time, and I remember one summer he even took me with him on the road. But sadly, my uncle had cancer, and while he was in the hospital, my aunt had tried to get him to assign her as an executor of his will, but since he was quick to pick up on what happened when my grandmother passed away, he hired a professional estate lawyer that would take care of everything. If you can imagine, my aunt was not very happy, and was quick to throw out a sob story of how offended she was that her brother couldn't entrust her with an important task. This went on for 2 weeks. Even on his last day in hospice, she still brought it up and was asked to leave by nurses. He passed away peacefully in 2011. Now, I didn't know it at the time, but I quickly found out why my aunt was so. We were all asked to gather at my mom's home where the estate lawyer came to tell us who was getting what. So finally, my time came on the list, and I was surprised to have everything willed to me. What did my uncle will to me? Why, his rig and car, of course. My uncle's rig is a 2008 Lone Star International, which was fully loaded. My uncle's car is a 1966 Chevelle SS. My first thought was, what the hell am I going to do with the big rig? My aunt's first thought, well, she doesn't have a first thought. She just screamed and cussed at the lawyer, saying that I was too sick to have those things and didn't deserve them because I was his nephew and not his sister. The lawyer asked her to sit down, and he would get to her. When my aunt sat down, she looked at me and said, "You're giving me the title to both of those," to which I laughed and said, "In your dreams, maybe." The lawyer kept going down the list, and because my uncle was a legend, he put my aunt at the bottom of the list and said to quote, "To my sister, I am leaving her my luckiest, most important dollar, because all present at this meeting will know that she needs it most," and then was handed the dirtiest-looking Canadian $1 coin, which was sealed in a block of acrylic. Myself, my dad, and my other uncles nearly wet ourselves laughing. My aunt, however, did not find it that funny and instead went into another tirade on how this was unfair and saying that she didn't have anything to hold on that was his. The day passed, and then the nightmare began. My aunt would call over and over and over asking about the truck, wanting to buy the car, if I was going to sell the truck, if I was going to sell the car, all to which I said no. Things got worse when my aunt started saying that she wanted her car and that she had someone that wanted to buy our truck. At this point, I got extremely irritated and said, "It's not your car, it's my car. And my car is staying with me. And it's not our truck, it's my truck. And no one is buying it." A week later, I woke up and heard something, so I went to investigate, and there was a tow truck in the driveway. I quickly told the tow truck driver, who was a friend of my aunt, that if he so much as put a hand on that Chevelle, I'd have him arrested for trespassing and grand theft, and then proceeded to call the police. Cop showed up, and I told the police officer my side of the story. Then he went to my aunt, and the conversation went like this. "Ma'am, can you tell me, is this your car?" "Yes, it is. He won't give it to me." "Ma'am, do you have the title of the vehicle?" "No, I do not. He won't give that to me." "Well, ma'am, I looked at the registration and the title of the vehicle, and he's listed as the owner of the vehicle. That vehicle is legally not yours, and having it towed could land you and your friend prison time for auto theft." "Well, I think I'm the one that should get the car because he can't even take care of himself." "Ma'am, it doesn't matter what you think. What matters is legal ownership, which you do not have." A week later, my aunt had attempted to take me to court for the car, which the case wasn't even put before a judge. My aunt refiled the claim. It went to court, and once I provided a copy of the will, title, and registration, the judgment went in my favor, and my aunt was forced to pay my court costs after dismissing my aunt's claims with prejudice, meaning she can never file that lawsuit again. Then tragedy struck again. This time a great uncle passed away. I was on the will. Again. Can you guess what was left to me? A new car! My great uncle's 1967 Chevy Impala SS, which he restored himself. My great aunt, his widow, was thrilled I got it, but the mood was quickly soured when she realized that my entitled aunt, her niece, really was not thrilled that I got it. This time she stepped it up a notch and skipped the screaming and complaining and instead went to scheming. 3 days after I took possession of the Impala, she rented not just one flatbed, but 2 flatbeds. She managed to get the Impala onto the flatbed and sped off, leaving her boyfriend behind, attempting to get the Chevelle on his flatbed as quickly as he could, while I stood by on the phone with the police. Police quickly caught up with my aunt and arrested her. Her boyfriend was arrested in my driveway and soiled himself in the process. Her and her boyfriend both were hit with 2 counts of motor vehicle theft. Both were charged and found guilty and sentenced to 2 years and 2 days in jail. End points. I haven't spoken to or heard from my aunt since she got out of prison, and I have no desire to. Before she was released from jail, I filed a restraining order against her, and it stood since then, but the last I heard, she's still screaming at store employees, complaining about money, and asking about me and the vehicles. I'm still owner of all 3 vehicles, the Chevelle, the Impala, and the Lone Star International, and I don't plan on selling any of them. I repair and build computers for a living, but more and more I've been getting into auto repair as a hobby. As I live in Canada, I don't drive the Impala or Chevelle during the winter months, but every year I always take my great aunt, who's now 96 years old, to A&W to get a root beer, onion rings, and an ice-cold root beer in the Impala, which is something my great uncle did for her since he got the Impala in 1970. A very good friend of my uncle's, whom now owns a business, actually rents the Lone Star International from me. He promised me that he'd not get a single scratch or spot of rust on any single part of it, and to this day the Lone Star looks factory new and has been all over the world. The guy that rents the truck even continued doing a little tradition my uncle did, which was to get a decal on the truck for each state, province, territory flag of the places the truck visited. It currently has 31 state decals and 3 province decals on it. My great aunt isn't in great health and has told me that she put me in her will so that I'll get her cars, which are 2 of my great uncle's first cars, originally left to her in the will. They're a 1958 Chevrolet Impala and a 1957 Plymouth Belvedere Fury, which is my favorite car. I saw the movie Christine when I was 6 years old in 1996. Ever since I loved the car, because she knows that I'll take care of it and park it right beside the 67 Impala SS. I can already imagine the fallout that I'm going to get for that. Bravo to your family for not putting up with your EA's BS and for recognizing the good person you are. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.